The next speaker is Dr. Nathan Katz, who's an FIU professor of religious studies. Dr. Katz.
Thank you, Chair Parker. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen. Your job is very tough. On the one hand, there's a budget crisis. We really understand that. On the other hand, you're charged with maintaining a curriculum in accord with the mission as stated by this university. And I want to make one point, that religious studies is essential to FIU's stated mission, the international dimension in particular. And only a full curriculum, undergraduate and graduate, can provide our students with the intellectual tools to cope with the complex world of today. If the current proposal were approved, we would lay off young, brilliant professors in the fields of religion and the environment, one of our missions, and in the field of Islamic studies. We can't deal with the world unless we understand these fields. So what do our students do? Very briefly, one student came to us. He studied IR and religious studies. He learned Arabic. He went on to do a doctorate in criminology in Gainesville. And he's now embedded with U.S. forces in Iraq, going around interviewing sheikhs and local leaders to try to get their perspectives on the real issues underlying the conflict. That's religious studies. Another student was an English language instructor at Tribhuvan University in Kathmandu, Nepal. One of his associates contacted me. We brought him here. He did a master's. I worked with him on Sanskrit texts pertaining to coronations of kings in Nepal. He did his master's, one of the absolute top 5 students I've ever taught, and now has a 5-year presidential fellowship to do his doctorate at Harvard. That's religious studies, as you might expect. One other student came to us after years of international business. He had already written a book with a foreword by Norman Mailer on the role of occultism in the Nazi ideology. He learned Chinese. He worked with Professor Hein in East Asian Studies. He wrote a book on the Mao of business, on how you deal with contemporary China in its traditional background. That book is translated into Chinese. Religious studies is essential for international relations, international business, domestic politics, law, health sciences, education, public policy, psychology, and if anybody still cares, literature and the arts as well. Who doesn't have a nephew who's married someone from another faith? Who doesn't work with immigrants from Asia? Who doesn't supervise people from different cultures who need leave times to celebrate their holidays? And who doesn't educate or provide health services or sell products to people of different religious backgrounds? To get along right here in Miami, you need religious studies. And in this globalized world, we have become one neighborhood, so to speak. So for us as a nation, the kind of understanding of others that only a full Department of Religious Studies can provide is needed. And it's in this spirit that His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote to President Maidik, really to all of us, and particularly to you members of the Board of Trustees. And he said, in our deeply interconnected world, understanding and appreciating of diversity of religions is critical to fostering a culture of genuine tolerance and peaceful coexistence. And I tell you, my friends, it's also necessary in order to conduct business in today's world, to have a sane foreign policy or to understand domestic politics and to get along in our community. We are not a frill. We are central to the core. The current proposal would save this university 0.1% of the annual budget. With the Dalai Lama's help, I believe, and our Vice President for Advancement seems to agree, and some members of the Board of Trustees agree, we can raise significant money over the next year or so. We ask you to give us a chance. Don't eliminate us preemptively. Thank you very much.